Well, I could try to find out what some pony who knew what she was doing, at least. Not that it was likely to get anything done, but it wasn't as if I had a better idea. I turned on my Pip-Buck radio and started to pace. It wasn't long before the music stopped and DJ Pony's voice burst out with news about the stable dweller. Clearly, Homage must have been a fan. So, the stable dweller was all the way down in Philadelphia? And apparently she'd just screwed over Red Eye and re-established DJ Pony's eyes and ears in the city. I expected at any moment to hear how she'd personally and literally punted Red Eye down out of the town. But Homage just gave another thank you and put on more music. Well, was it just me, or did Homage have a super unicorn mare capable of doing all that? Heck, I'd be a bit moist in the... None of this is helping, Blackjack! I needed to make a choice. I hated making choices. In 99, my choice was do what I'm told. Outside, it was get away from Deuce. For a while, it was find out what EC1101 is. Now it was try not to get any pony killed. And if I was honest, don't die in 6 months was really up there too. Try to think what you should do, Blackjack, I said as I trot through one of the collegiate buildings. What about what security would do? I heard a familiar voice mutter. I looked around. I was in some kind of gymnasium. There was a swimming pool full of murky water that looked more than a little unhealthy, and next to it were 2 bathtubs. 2 beautiful basins brimming with steamy water. Oh, whatever pony had invented self-heating bathtub talismans, thank you. Well, first of all, I know what security would do. I tested my horn's magic. It seemed like it was finally starting to return, at least for basic telekinesis. Then I shucked my barding and my braces and flopped to the nearest unoccupied basin. The tubs were clearly big Macintosh-sized. I didn't even take up the entire thing. I laid my head back and stared up at the roof. Blackjack was a frayed bundle of neurotic impulses. The stable dweller was a pony too awesome to really imagine. What about security? I hadn't thought of that identity in a while, the one manufactured by Homage's imagination. But in the end, ponies around Hoofington didn't care about Blackjack. Hell, Blackjack had almost speared a doctor's throat. Security wouldn't have ever done that. Security saved ponies. Mom had told me that back when I believed it to be true. Security wanted to save Hoofington and every pony who could be saved. Ponies who followed the most basic laws, like don't kill other ponies just because you want to, deserve a chance at a safe life. Security would trust her friends to take care of themselves, help them if they asked for it, and not agonize about dying in months when she could die tomorrow. But would security help Professor Zodiac? I muttered. I sure hope so. I blinked at a pony, Thing, peeking at me from the other side of the tub. It was half pony, but the other half looked like an eel or snake or fish. Thing. It had a webbed spine for a mane, and though it had 4 hooves of a sort, there was another smaller spined webbing along its back of her limbs. The soft pink pony Thing smiled warily at my expression. Then another one popped out of the tub next to me. This one turquoise, and leaned over with a wide, pony-eating smile. Boo! It was some sort of monster ponies. Taint monsters. They were going to eat me. My horn flashed as it tried to shoot my magic bullet spell. It really tried. The flickering ball of light struck the turquoise pony in the face with a zap that blackened her face with soot. She stared at me and coughed a little cloud of smoke before flopping back under the water with a groan. Capri! The pink one shouted and jumped from the tub I occupied to the other tub beside me with shocking grace. I flopped about, trying to climb out and get my gun, but instead I floundered and flopped into the slippery metal tub. The pink one cradled the other pony in her hoof. Flipper things. Saggy, I warned us not to mess with security. Who? What? How? I babbled, pointing my right hoof at them. And then I saw the hurt in the pink one's red eyes and sighed. Okay. Freaking out, not helping any pony. Sorry, I didn't know these tubs were occupied. And that's okay. Most ponies don't come down here anyway. Saggy and Virgo, mostly. The pink one said shyly. I'm Pisces. This is Cappy. Well, Capricorn, but she doesn't like being called that. Blackjack, I replied, feeling adrenaline give way to shock, and even that wasn't lasting long as Capri recovered. The turquoise pony ran her hoof flipper thing along her bright blue spines. Sorry about blasting you, I said. She had a sort of rubbery hide that transitioned from small scales halfway down her body. You're sorry? I'm sorry, I forgot you could do that. Pretty sensible reaction, if you asked me, Capri said as she washed her face off in the tub. Do I still have eyebrows? What are eyebrows? Pisces asked with a little frown. Capri just sighed, shaking her head with a little groan. Okay, these were zodiacs, right? Chimera monster ponies? Something else? If you don't mind me asking, what are you? I gave the best smile I could. Capri smiled broadly. Well now, that's a great question, isn't it? What are we? Are we perhaps the vanguard of the Royal Sea Pony Invasion Force, coming forth to establish ties with the land ponies? Are you prepared to submit to the rule of the great Oceanus and his mighty Leviathan? That set off a few fuses in my brain, not least of which was wondering what a Leviathan was. Capri continued on. Or maybe we're the result of some super-secret military naval program to make sea ponies to swim into zebra harbors and blow stuff up. Or we're tame super mutants with powers beyond your... We ran into Killing Joke, Pisces said softly. Capri immediately slumped against the wall of the tub. You always give away the ending, sis. Sis? Right. Sister, as in sibling. We're related by blood. All ponies were in our village in Ghastly Gorge. The turquoise pony said softly. As for Killing Joke, well, it's a blue vine that you can find here and there. None around Hoofington, thank the goddesses. One time, glad almost nothing grows here. But if it touches you, well, it plays jokes on you. Pisces nodded. That usually gets you killed. A vine that plays jokes. I needed to scavenge a box of brain fuses. Here I was, almost convinced that maybe I'd found out all the messed up stuff about the wasteland. Well, to elaborate, once I said to Sis, Gee sis, wouldn't it be great to be a sea pony? To which Sis replied, and she pointed her hoof flipper at the pink pony. Shooby-doo, shoo-shooby-doo, Pisces said with a little smile. That's from the Sea Pony song. She said with a little nod. So one day, we were starving and decided to find our way into the Everfree Forest, looking for something non-radioactive and non-poisonous to eat. Not one of my smarter choices in retrospect. And we came across Killing Joke. It burst out of the ground and played its joke on us by turning us into this, she said with a broad smile. By the way, did I mention that we were miles from any water source? That's the killing part, Pisces pointed out. So yeah, we flopped around the Everfree, dying out, crawling on our bellies, not really happy with life. We finally found a pond we could wet ourselves in. That was full of radgators, the pink pony pointed out. Capri rolled her eyes with a soft snort. Which was full of radgators. Fortunately, the joke gave us a few tricks that let us drive them off. Probably an accident on his part. We eventually flopped and flipped our way to a creek and just followed it downstream. Went underground for a while, then eventually ended up into what turned out to be the Hoofington Reservoir. And that's when we came across other ponies. Mean ponies, Pisces said with a shiver. Raiders? I asked with sympathy. Capri snorted with a scowl. No. Fancy high-to-do society ponies. she said with a flick of her tail. Caught us in a net and threw us in a jar. They took us to be part of some weird place, some fancy thing called a zoo. Stayed like that for 6 months. The society had wrapped on the glass, and make us move around all the time, she said through grit teeth. Pisces whimpered, covering her ears. I don't want to remember the tapping. They just wouldn't stop. Capri hugged her. I wanted to do that myself. Anyway, Professor Zodiac found out about us and paid a whole bunch of caps to King Jackass to let us go. She had to give up something really valuable that she said was hers too, but she said that no pony should have been locked up for looking strange. I thought that of a Zoni trying to teach in an empty lecture hall. So, now you're Zodiacs. Pisces smiled and nodded. That's what Sagittarius said. He was the only one that told the professor about us in being Awesome's aquarium. The pink pony flushed at Capri's glower. I mean, King Jackass. That mollified the turquoise sea pony a little bit. Capri leaned back against the bathtub, and on her rump I saw an odd symbol. A zodiac magical tattoo, like the decals we'd worn leaving Megamart. Wow, that seems so long ago. Now, we do whatever we can to help out here. Sometimes we catch bounties if they live near the water. Sometimes we salvage sunken wreckage. One good thing about being like this is that we don't seem to get any more mutated by taint or the crud in the water, she said, looking at the pink sea pony. We're going out of the bay soon. Gonna see if we can pull something useful off the Luna. That sunken battleship, I said, and she nodded. You can't tell me there's something useful on that wreck. Plenty, she laughed. All kinds of talismans still intact. Tons of equipment that's still sort of useful. That ship had so many enchantments protecting it that it took years before it finally sank. Barely any rust on it at all, in spite of all the salt water. So, if I found that killing joke stuff, I speculated, rubbing my chin, I'd love to live a taint-free, two-eyed, non-jelly-legged pony again, I said to myself, and any killing joke that I might encounter in the future. You'd be an idiot and be dead, Capri said flatly. Killing joke doesn't help ponies. Ever. It screws them. You can't say, I'd love to be Princess Celestia and dive in, because it'll mutate you into an alicorn that can't do magic and fly or something, or turn you into a 200-year-old dead copy of the princess, or do something that you said back when you were a filly. Trust me, you are not the first pony to think of using Killing Joke to do something cool. I blew a raspberry. And once more, reality squashes what would have been otherwise a completely awesome plan. Yeah, Pisces said with a sigh. If it wasn't for stupid reality, we could have chocolate milk rain and cotton candy clouds. I sighed as well. Wouldn't that be awesome? Rivers of wild Pegasus, sugar apple bomb bushes. Hey, quick question, I said as I looked at the pair. Why did the Zodiacs go after me and my Pip-Buck? Capri shrugged. Sagi's idea. He heard the professor needed it really badly. She folded her hoof flippers and put them under her chin. He's the oldest Zodiac, so he's kind of in charge. The idea was that it'd be a surprise or something. Pisces nodded. Libra spilled the beans, though. Capri shivered. Professor was so pissed. I don't think I've ever seen her so mad before. The turquoise pony looked at me with a sympathetic look. She said you'd never help her now. That lined up with what I'd heard from the professor herself. Well, it sure doesn't help, I muttered. I lifted the leg braces with my faltering magic and tied them to my forelimbs. Does that mean you're thinking about it? Pisces suddenly arched back into the tub I occupied and gave me a very squishy hug. Please help her. Please. I know she's creepy and freaky and strange, but she's the only person who's been good to me and Sis. Please? Oh, wasn't this awkward?